Hi angels and welcome. I'm your host Lisa Everding, founder of Earthy Angels, and I'm on a mission to empower women to live authentically and to take exquisite care of themselves. You can find us on earthyangels.com or head over to our show notes to follow us on socials. Hi angels, as winter approaches and the weather cools down, many people struggle and let their good habits go. Or maybe you find that you just put off starting altogether and wait for spring. But I want to share some insights and tips with you today to help with your motivation and to help continue taking care of yourself throughout the cooler months. But more importantly, we dive into shifting your subconscious beliefs and finding that inner drive to help support you during winter. Shift your perspective on how you view your health and fitness, from goals to holding that inner vision and intentions for your ideal self. So a whole lot we're going to dive in today around prioritizing you all year round, because I want you to feel your absolute best. Hi girls, I'm coming to you from this chilly winter's morning. As I'm speaking to you, I have a heat weed on my lap. I'm obsessed with my heat weeds. I put them in my bed under my feet at nighttime. I use them in the morning when I do my spiritual practices, my meditation. I love being warm, and I too struggle a little bit with the winter cooler weather. It is definitely not my favorite time of year, but I wanted to have a chat with you today about really getting some internal motivation for the winter months. This is the time of year where I know it's colder, I know it's harder to get going. There are so many different mental barriers to overcome that I wanted to jump on and have a little bit of a discussion with you about what has helped me over the years, what has helped my clients over the years from a little bit of a different perspective. Look, I know we have the I guess you would say all of the general things that people say to keep motivated over winter. Have a workout buddy, have your goals, get clear on your why, set yourself up, get your clothes out the night before. All of those things which absolutely help, but I wanted to dive a little bit deeper, as I always do, into some things that have helped over the years. And I have worked for many years with women, many years in the fitness industry, previously as personal trainer, group fitness. Before I went into the studio, I've coached women. I have been very disciplined myself. I've had ups and downs myself. I've witnessed ups and downs with many of my clients that I thought, coming into the beginning of winter, I wanted to jump on and just share a few things to help with your motivation, with your mindset, with your perspective, and with that mental barrier, because I know this time of year, it is a big mental barrier to overcome, to leave the house, to make the effort to get up or to move your body. It's just harder, right? Like, it's just definitely a lot harder at this time of year. So I'm not going to sugarcoat it and go, you can do it, it's easy, just set your alarm, just get up. And yeah, I have a little bit of that inside me, but also I want to shift your perspective a little bit in how you can find a little bit more internal motivation. And one thing that I have learned over the years is motivation comes and goes. You cannot rely on it. If you waited for motivation, you would absolutely wait forever. It comes from creating habits, from developing discipline. And the habits and the discipline are what keeps you going when the motivation wanes. And it's definitely going to wane a little bit over that winter period where it is cooler, harder to get going. The days are shorter, the days are colder. You just feel like you just want to retreat inside and not do anything and get a little bit lazy at this time of year. I know, I get it. I've been there. We have all been there. But I just want to share with you some things that have really helped with myself, with my clients, and things that I have seen, or what's helped with my mindset, that I can help and impart some wisdom with you, and you take out of this what you need. So, over the years working with women, I can honestly say the women that have got the results are hands down the ones that are consistent. They haven't done anything magical, anything huge, any like a big, magic formula secret. It is literally just the power of consistency and for continually showing up for themselves all of the time, all of the year round, are the women that get the results. And I've seen many, many women who stop, start the whole way through the year. Life happens, they get busy, they stop, then they got to find the motivation and the discipline and the drive to get going again. And then it takes a while to get back into it. So I have seen different patterns play out for women. And the biggest win is just those women that are consistent. They just keep turning up for themselves all year round. Even if over periods they may back off on their habits a little bit, but they still maintain that discipline. And what I have also found is these years of working with women, how many of the girls that would have that stop-start habit play out in their life, without a doubt, get to summer and regret that they didn't keep going through winter. That is always a pattern. It's always an emotion that I have seen play out, is this feeling of disappointment or this feeling of, oh my God, why did I do it again? Why did I give up on myself? Why did I stop? Why didn't I just keep going the whole way through winter? Because they hit spring and they hit summer just with this feeling of, oh my goodness, now I have to start again. And that's even harder. And this feeling of disappointment in their body, this feeling of they've let themselves down, and just this feeling of, I always quit on myself and I'm sick of quitting on myself, would often play out. So that's where I found that pattern of just consistency, even if you adapt, even if you change routine a little bit, just keeping that consistency throughout your whole life, and exercise, like I've spoke to you about before, exercise, what you like for exercise, what you like for movement, changes. It comes and goes. It fluctuates throughout the years with different stages of our life. But overall, it's having that inner motivation and that inner drive to just keep showing up for you. And I have read many, many books, and two books which I really highly recommend. The Compound Effect and The Slight Edge by Jeff Olson. The Compound Effect, that's not by Jeff Olson. I can't recall off the top of my head who wrote that. It will come to me. But The Slight Edge by Jeff Olson. And these two books really talk about the power of insignificant little daily decisions made over time and how they compound into the results that you want, or how they compound into the results that you don't want. For instance, setting your alarm every single morning or 5 mornings out of the 7 consistently over years compounds to having better workout habits, having better mindset, having better foundations in your health, in your fitness, better routines, better spiritual practices, just by getting up and making time for yourself, versus that compounding effect or that slight edge effect of just hitting snooze. You don't notice in the morning where you go, I'll just hit snooze, and then you kind of forget about it. The next day you go, I'll just hit snooze again. And over time, this slight edge compounding effect of hitting snooze and not getting up, making time for you, that compounds to results and desires that you don't want. So the biggest drive that I have really found in myself is understanding the power in the slight edge of your daily habits repeated over time and how they lead you towards your goals and desires or away from them, and the compound effect, that compound effect of how you don't notice the little decisions that you make day in, day out, but over years they compound. Like I look at the compound effect of 20 years of me turning up to look after my body and look after my mind, and how that has resulted in a compounding effect of, I feel absolutely great in myself in 45. My mind is strong. I feel I've got some really incredible habits that have been ingrained in myself from that compound effect of making those seemingly insignificant decisions of, I'm just going to work out today, or I'm just going to pop my podcast on, or I'm just going to get out and go for a walk. You don't notice it in the morning, girls. You don't notice it at the time, but over years it compounds to give you the results that you want or you don't want. So understanding that compound effect of your decisions is huge. And I highly recommend reading those books. And look, you're going to hear things all the time, and which is true, you know, like having a workout buddy. It's great to have somebody that you can arrange to meet, whether it's going to the gym, whether it's going to class, whether it's going for a walk, whether it is showing up for some kind of practice or ritual for you. It is great. And absolutely, I do agree that it helps. But then I also think there comes a time when we need to take responsibility for ourselves, and we need to find that inner drive and that inner motivation for long term, because people come and go, and people will do what's right for them in the time. And I think, how are you going to be when your friend doesn't turn up? How are you going to be if for some reason they move or they change routine, but you like what you're doing? What are you going to do? Are you going to rely on your friend, or are you going to find that drive within? So that's where I feel having that internal, getting clear on your why, and getting into some support with your drive, with your motivation, helps for the long term. Because it comes to a point where, if I look back over the last 20 odd years, it's been great sometimes having that workout person to turn up and meet, or having someone to go for a walk with. But I can hand on my heart say that I've had the drive and had the discipline to take responsibility for myself and find that inner motivation. And girls, it's not there all the time. Trust me, I am absolutely not perfect. I do not have this discipline and this motivation all of the time. But I'm going to go through some things with you now that are going to help that. But what I want to also share with you, with some, I guess, a little bit of a different belief that I have to, say, most trainers or most people out there, is embracing the seasons as well. So yes, I think it's important to keep going throughout winter. Yes, I think it's important to set yourself up with some habits, which I'm going to talk to you about, but also embracing the season of winter and what it is about. So the season of winter is also about a little bit of hibernation, a little bit of retreating inwards. And so what I found over the years has helped is, one, listening to my body. Going in alignment with seasons definitely helps, but also listening to what our primate innate needs are for the season. And I find in winter, when you listen to your body, when you listen to the fundamental, I guess you would say, what's the word I'm looking for? Like what the season of winter represents is, it does represent slowing down. It does represent a bit of hibernation. It does represent going into your cave, kind of going back to your reserves and taking care of yourself, so that you can come into that spring season of new beginnings, and that spring season of planting seeds, and of growth and of change and of getting moving, and that energy that definitely comes back in the spring and summer months. So yes, I believe it's important to keep moving your body, but yes, I believe it's also important to listen to this season of winter. Does that mean you do nothing and you sleep in all winter? In my opinion, no. It depends. Well, it depends on your results. It depends on what you need at the time and what your inner drive and your inner desires and your big why is. However, maybe you need to give yourself permission to adapt your routine a little bit more throughout winter. So sometimes you might need to sleep in a little bit on the weekends to give yourself the more sleep and the more rest. You might need to get to bed a little bit earlier so that you can get up. You've got that good 8 hours sleep. You can get up knowing that you've had that good solid rest. But also in this season of winter, we tend to want to ground ourselves a little bit more. We tend to want to find those nourishing foods, like those beautiful winter warming foods that are going to really help nourish you from the inside, like those beautiful slow cooked meals, those nice winter herbal teas, or the honey and lemon and ginger tea, or your beautiful soups and slow cooked meals, because your foods and your habits definitely impact your motivation and your energy. So really loading up on some beautiful, warm, nourishing, wholesome winter foods, staying hydrated, all of those things which are definitely going to help with your immunity, are definitely going to help with your energy, are definitely going to help nourish you from the inside. And sleep is an important part of that. That nourishment of the inside, that sleep is really important for that as well. Getting to bed earlier is really, really important. But maybe in winter, you might have to maybe be a little bit more adaptable with your routine. So what do I mean by that? So sometimes you may, obviously the daylight hours definitely impacts the time whether you can get up for a walk. You might in summertime have been getting up super early and not feel comfortable going for a walk in the dark, when you wake up in the morning and it's still dark. So you might have to adapt your routine a little bit in winter. And this will be different for everybody. It depends on what you do for movement. It depends on your habits and what you enjoy. But being okay and having the mindset of it's okay to adapt, it's okay to change, it's okay to roll with the seasons. So in wintertime, you may, for instance, you might feel that you hibernate indoors so much. And I think it's important to still get outside and it's important to get grounded. So you might find you might go for a walk a little bit later on in the day. You might find that if you're at work, you might go for a walk. I used to, when I had a job, I used to take my sneakers with me. And in wintertime, I would just pop my sneakers on, go for a walk around outside. I worked in a commercial area and go for a walk outside and take my lunch out with me. So I'd find somewhere in the sun to sit and eat. And even if it's at your workplace, if it's just outside in the sun, if it's at a park, wherever you need to go, maybe grounding yourself by getting outside during the middle of the day, because I think sun is definitely important for your immunity. Sun is important to help you getting grounded and get connected to nature. It also helps you feel good when you get out in the rays of the sun on those cold winter days. I change my routes where I walk of a morning come summertime. I find routes which keep me I like still being near nature, but in the sunshine more. So I might circle around the same block or go around the oval a couple of times when I'm out in the sun, as opposed to walking under the cold trees at different times of day, maybe going for a walk a little bit later on in the day. So being adaptable to your routine. And like, for instance, I find sometimes in winter, my body wants to move a little bit slower at certain times throughout the cycle as well. So maybe embodying a little bit more slower restorative yoga, maybe finding some practices that are a little bit slower and more embodied for you. However, keep moving. Like, I think the worst thing that you can do is stop right through winter and then start up again in September or spring, like what I spoke about before, is you just start regretting it and you wish that you had kept moving. So maybe changing your form of exercise throughout the winter months, if that's something that feels good for you. Maybe having a bit of balance. Like, I know girls that love the higher intense classes, and in wintertime, they will definitely balance it out with more slower restorative yoga classes. Or maybe you're changing your time that you go to classes. Maybe you usually go super early in the morning and you might feel better going in the afternoon, or going like at that kind of 9 o'clock in the day. Everybody is different depending on your routine. But just being okay to give yourself permission to be adaptable and find a solution that you are going to keep your body moving. So it may mean changing times. It may mean changing routine. It may mean changing what you're doing for movement throughout the winter months, which is fine. Like, change is good for us. That's okay. But the point is just try and keep your body moving throughout those winter months. Shift your routine if you need to, be adaptable, but getting really, really clear on your why. Like, I love Tony Robbins. I absolutely love listening to a lot of his work. I've been to his conferences, and something that he said at a conference I went to, Unleash the Power Within, a few years back, really stuck with me. And he said that, what is your state? What is your expectancy? What is that expectancy that you have for yourself? And I really found that, like, he spoke in the room, like he said, in the seminar, he said, I can look around the room and I can tell who forms the habit of exercise and who makes that habit of movement an absolute must for them, an absolute non-negotiable. And that is just your state. That's your expectancy of who you are. So ask yourself, like, what is your expectancy? What is your standards that you have of yourself? What is your state that you want to feel all the time? Do you want to be in a state of feeling abundant in your health? Do you want to be in a state of feeling good in your body and having energy in your body? Do you want to be in a state of being just so strong and mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, by developing these disciplines and developing these habits over the years of taking care of yourself? It builds an inner strength and it builds an inner discipline. But what is your expectancy and what is your state that you have for yourself? And that really stuck with me at one of his conferences that I went to, and went, that is something that I'm going to embody all the time. Like, just having this expectancy of, I am somebody who takes care of myself. I am somebody who works out irrespective of the seasons, irrespective of what's happening in my world. I will always be somebody who takes care of my body. And that has been something like a philosophy of his that I have adopted over the years, that it is an absolute must for me, that even though I can be adaptable, even though things change with the season, taking care of my body forms an absolute must for me. And so I found that that is something that helps. So maybe having a little think about that yourself, like, what is your expectancy of yourself? What is your state? What is that state of being that you want to embody? And getting clear on your why. Like, why is it that you want to work out? Like, why is it that you want to take care of your body? Why is it that you want to nourish yourself? I found over the years that if your goals are maybe just, I want to lose 5 kilos, I just don't feel that it's a great goal to have, but is that a big enough why? Is that a big enough desire to keep you going for the long term? So getting clear on your why definitely helps you with long-term health. Like, my why has always been, and I've spoken about it before, is optimal health and fitness for life, and optimal health and fitness for me so that I have energy to keep up with my family, that I have energy to keep up with my kids, so that I have energy and health and wellness to get the most out of life for the things that I love, which is time for my family, travel, to have fun, to be adventurous. All of these things form the foundation of my why. So over the years, I've developed habits that are in line with my why. And I know when wintertime comes around, it is harder to keep those habits going. Like, there's definitely things that I can tell you to help. For instance, of a morning, when I get up of a morning, and this is something that I've done from my personal training years, when it's nothing for me to get up super early, and to get up at 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning. And has it always been easy? Oh my gosh, no. Like, it's definitely not always been easy. But I also have this mindset of, I figure, whether I get up in winter at 4 a.m. or 6 a.m. or 7 a.m., it still sucks. It's still hard to get up in the morning in the cold. So whether it's 4 a.m. or whether it's 6 a.m., it's still going to be challenging. So I'm just going to get up anyway. Like, I would put my alarm across the other side of my room where I couldn't get out of bed and reach it, and I physically had to get out of bed. And I would sit on the ground with my phone alarm. I would sit there, and I would, even if I just need to sit for a little bit, I'm not going to lie in bed because I'm scared I'm going to snooze. And so I would physically get myself out of bed, turn my alarm off, and maybe just sit there for a couple of minutes if I needed to, just to regroup. I would always get my clothes out the night before. That definitely helped. In wintertime, I set my bedroom air conditioner to come on heat, so that it comes on maybe an hour or two in the morning before I get up. So the heater might come on at 3 o'clock in the morning, ready for me to get up at 4. So the room is really warm. I would have my beautiful, fluffy, warm Peter Alexander dressing gown and my slippers waiting on the ground for me just to throw over top of my pajamas and then go straight into the bathroom and wash my face. The first thing I always, always, always do is wash my face. I just find that it just gives me that little bit of energy. It just wakes me up and makes that splash of water, right? It just gives you that little hit of motivation and it just wakes you up really, really fast. Or you might find in wintertime that you might want to have a shower, which is absolutely fine. But having some things ready to keep you warm as soon as you wake up. Like, I always love a lemon water when I wake up first thing in the morning after I've got my workout clothes on, and I will still throw my slippers and my dressing gown over top of my workout clothes, and I would go out to the kitchen and I would make a lemon water. In wintertime, I'd make a warm one. I'd pop the kettle on. Sometimes I would add ginger and honey to it, but have a warm lemon drink. But before I would do that, I would go and if I have to go to the studio, I would go and pop my car on and turn my seat heater on and turn my steering wheel heater on and just get pump up the heater and get the car really beautiful and warm, so that in those 5 minutes while I'm getting my warm lemon drink, packing my stuff to walk out the door, my car is nice and warm, ready to jump in. You don't need to do that. I might sound a bit precious. That's just something that I found that has helped me over the years. So what is it that will help you when you get up and it is absolutely freezing cold? Those are little things that have just helped just to embrace the cold a little bit by keeping myself warm, getting my car nice and warm. And even when I was younger, when my car wasn't as fancy and didn't have all the seat heaters and stuff, I would put my track pants over my tights and I would have my fluffy socks or my slippers on and drive to the gym, and then pop my sneakers on when I got to the gym, take my extra layer of jumper or dressing gown off, and then just run into the gym. And that's always been something that has helped me for a very, very long time. And I've always thought about the after feeling. Nobody regrets a workout. Focus on how you're going to feel afterwards, girls. You are always going to feel better. You never regret getting up and taking care of your body. And sometimes, like I've heard people talk about, that 5-second rule. Give yourself 5 seconds to make a decision. When you wake up, give yourself count to 5 and then just get up. Or if you want to go back to sleep and you need that, go back to sleep. But how do you feel afterwards? So checking in with how am I going to feel afterwards? And you know that once you go and you move your body, it's done for the day. It doesn't matter if this is morning or afternoon. You never regret a workout. You always feel amazing and you always feel proud of yourself for doing it. So focus on how are you going to feel afterwards. Some other little things, 2 more points that I kind of want to finish up on is your goals versus your intentions and vision. So yes, it's good to have a goal. And when it's good, I'm going to dive deeper into the goals. So I think goals are important, but I tend to operate more on setting intentions and having a bigger vision for myself. So you can have small goals. For instance, I find what gets scheduled gets done. So making your commitment to your exercise or to your practices, and it could be your practices, could be your yoga, it could be your meditation, is what gets scheduled gets done. So I have found this post-it note strategy has really helped over the years, where say, for instance, let's just use exercise for an example because that's super easy. Say you commit to, I'm going to do 4 practices a week, whatever or movement feels good for you. I'm going to do 4 sessions a week. I would write on my 4 post-it notes. So one post-it note, for instance, could be Pilates. Another one could be yoga. Another one bar, another one Pilates. And I would look at my calendar across the week, and then I would put my post-it notes on those days that I'm committing to. I would go in, book my session. So I've got it booked in like an appointment, schedule the time out. And what I made a promise to myself is at the end of the week, I'm going to get those 4 post-it notes completed. So when I would complete the post-it note, I would remove it and then pop it into the next week. So I wanted to get to get to the end of my week, and all of my post-it notes have been moved and popped down to the next week. So even if something comes up, and guys, things come up, kids get sick, work calls you in, you don't feel well, something always happens, and that's okay. But I would make a decision I'm going to get to the end of the week and my 4 post-it notes are going to get done. Even if I have to move times, even if I have to shuffle a few things around, even if I have to maybe do a double class, I'm getting to the end of the week and my 4 post-it notes are getting done because my word is law. I commit to myself, because what I found over the years, if you are someone that constantly quits on yourself or constantly goes, it doesn't matter if I don't turn up, no one's going to know except me, is you end up subconsciously quitting on yourself, that your subconscious mind starts to not believe yourself and you start to not hold that faith in yourself, and you feel like you constantly quit on yourself and you learn not to trust yourself. So I would really try, and I journaled on this big time. I am someone who, fill in the blank. So I am someone who takes care of herself. I am someone who prioritizes her wellness and her fitness. I am someone who keeps her word to herself and keeps her promises. I am someone who works out regularly. I am someone who listens to audios. I am someone who, and I would find what is that thing that I want to ingrain in my subconscious mind, that I am someone who. So whether you call them affirmations or journaling, it really helps having that positive mindset. But then I would take it to another level. So I don't know if you've ever heard of the term your ideal future self or your ideal self or your future self, or this ideal version of yourself. I really stripped back. I guess you would kind of take a little bit of what I said with what I said earlier about Tony Robbins and this expectancy that you have for yourself and this state that you want to have for yourself. But I would look to my future self and I would think to myself, okay, is my future self somebody who constantly chops and changes based on, what she reacts to life? For instance, is she someone who gets busy and runs out of daylight and then she just doesn't follow through on herself? Is she someone that breaks promises to herself? Or is she someone who creates conditions and opportunities? Is she someone who takes aligned actions? Is she someone that takes care of her body? Is she somebody that is disciplined? And I would write down this version of my ideal future self. For instance, my ideal future self is a woman who nourishes her body, is somebody who prioritizes her health and wellness, is somebody who she really honors her needs and she prioritizes her self-care. She's somebody who eats well. She's somebody who nourishes her body. She's somebody who is disciplined. She is somebody who takes pride in herself. She is somebody who shows up for herself. She is somebody who honors her needs and her values. She is somebody, and so I'm just talking about health and fitness now, right? But you can go into your ideal future self in a whole different range of different areas of your life, your career, your finances, your relationships. I'm just talking about this motivation and this drive and this caring for yourself in winter. I would write out this script or this version of my ideal future self. She is somebody who embodies wellness. She is somebody who has a positive mindset. She is a woman who likes to be full of energy. She is a woman who embodies energy, who embodies fitness, who embodies health. She is a woman who is well. I never entertained any ideas of sickness or of illness, or she is someone who does not get sick. It's in the positive, in the present tense of what do you want to create for yourself. So getting clear and visualizing, I found visualizing or imagining this ideal version of myself as already successful, as already fit, healthy, well, however you want to picture yourself, radiant, glowing, full of energy, sexy, amazing, confident, however you want to embody this ideal version of yourself, I would write about her and then I would start to take action in alignment with my ideal future self. So I found having this ideal future self is I would think to myself of a morning, is my ideal future self someone who would get up and exercise? Is my ideal future self somebody who would make sure that she turns up to class? Is my ideal future self who would come home and cook meals for herself that are nourishing and that are fulfilling? Is my ideal future self someone who would have energy? And I would make decisions based on my ideal future self. So I found that that really helped, because your actions and your habits follow your beliefs. So when you write this script of your ideal future self and what she embodies and who she is, you can read it over and over. You can daily write affirmations around your ideal future self. You can rewrite your script if you want, over and over. The idea is you plant it in your subconscious mind. When you plant it in your subconscious mind, you start to become her, you start to believe her, you start to step in to this version of her, and your actions and your habits start to follow your beliefs. So if your belief in winter is, well, who cares if I'm a bit lazy? I'm going to be covered up anyway. I live in my track pants. I'll just wait till spring. Your actions and your habits are going to follow that subconscious belief of, I'm not worried about winter. Who cares? I'll get back to it later. So your habits are negatively impacted. You reduce the time that you exercise. You give up on your clean eating. You're not too concerned about your mindset. So your attitude diminishes. And your reality becomes your subconscious internal beliefs. So if your subconscious internal beliefs is, I'm not worried about winter, I'll just cover myself up anyway, you end up living that reality. Versus the opposite, if your subconscious beliefs are, I'm a woman who takes care of herself, I'm a woman who just embodies wellness for the rest of my life, your habits are going to be in alignment with your subconscious beliefs. And it's not something that you just do once, girls. You don't just write out this script, stick it in a drawer and forget about it. Reread it, or just journal a few things, or just drive around, or when you're on your walks, vision that ideal. You don't have to write it all the time. Vision that ideal future self, and how can you step into that ideal self whenever you're making a decision. Would my ideal future self make that decision? What decision would she make? It's the power of repetition. It's the power of living it over and over in your mind, of writing it out, of feeling it in your heart and soul. And then you start to internalize these beliefs, and then your intuition starts to give you intuitive hunches or tips or a bit of motivation or some ideas, because you start to believe in yourself. And so just ask yourself, am I somebody who, I have many girls that say to me, I'm sick of quitting on myself. I always quit on myself and I'm sick of it. If that's you, maybe take on board a few of the things that I have shared and go, you know what? I'm going to change that this winter. I'm going to start believing in myself. I'm going to start to find that version of myself that is going to be her absolute best. But don't beat yourself up if it doesn't play out all of the time. You're going to have times in winter, you're going to have times throughout your life where shit happens, where someone gets sick, where work calls you in, where you might lose a bit of motivation when you come back from holidays. That is life. The idea is to have that inner drive to get you back on track, and try not to neglect yourself, because when you neglect yourself and you let your tank get too empty, you find it harder to have the motivation. So by having the self-care and by taking care of yourself, it also helps give you motivation. It also helps you have this desire to take better care of yourself because you just feel good. And in winter, what are some different ways that you can embody self-care in winter? Like beautiful, warm, nourishing baths, getting out in the sun, grounding yourself. Find things for you that give you that element of self-care throughout winter, but come back to your core beliefs. Is it optimal health and fitness for life, or whatever line that you want to write that embodies your beliefs? What are your core beliefs? What is your deep why? Not when you have time, not when life settles down. What are the fundamental core beliefs of your why and your ideal future self? Because it needs to form part of who you are, and you need to shift your mindset into one of, I am somebody who nourishes myself all year round and for the rest of my life, in whatever way that comes up for you. I've shared a whole heap of different ideas with you now, but what I can leave you with is, I know that most people hit spring and wish they had started their health and fitness journey months ago, or wish they hadn't quit on themselves months ago. So be the person that takes aligned action. When I say aligned, in alignment with your values, in alignment with your higher self or your ideal future self, And take that aligned action now so that you go into spring already feeling amazing. You just feel good. Overall, we're always going to have ups and downs, but overall, you feel good in yourself because you take care of yourself all year round. I hope that helps. I hope that gives you a little bit of motivation, a little bit of insight. And I promise you girls, you will not regret taking care of yourself through winter. You'll be so grateful that you did. So make a little promise to yourself now that you will nourish yourself right throughout this winter period and show up for you always, my friends. Have a beautiful, beautiful day. Get out in the sun if you can, and I will chat with you soon in the next episode. So much love to you all, girls. Bye. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed today's episode and want more, feel free to follow or subscribe on whatever platform you listen to. You can also head over to earthyangels.com or join our private Facebook group, Earthy Angels Connect, for more community, blogs, updates, inspo, motivation, support, and to connect with a tribe of like-minded souls. And if you have a moment, we would be super grateful if you would love to leave a review. Sending you so much light and love, Angel.